Blazing Saddles isn't just a comedy, it's a revolution wrapped in a Western. From the moment it hit theaters in 1974, Mel Brooks' satirical masterpiece took aim at the conventions of both Hollywood and society. Filled with irreverent humor, razor-sharp racial commentary, and a whole lot of chaos, it stood as an anti-Western that mocked everything from racism to authority. With boundary-pushing jokes, a cast of unforgettable characters, and moments that should have never made it past the censor, Blazing Saddles became a cultural lightning rod. Here's a deep dive into the madness behind the making of a cinematic classic. Number 1. What happens when you cast an Oscar-winning actor who can't quite get it together? Well, in Blazing Saddles, it's a disaster that turns into one of the film's greatest triumphs. Originally, the role of the Waco Kid was meant for Gig Young, a seasoned Hollywood actor with a reputation for playing serious roles. But as soon as the cameras started rolling, it became painfully clear that Young wasn't ready for the physical demands of the part. The actor was visibly struggling, his hands shaking, and his voice cracking. It turned out that he was going through alcohol withdrawal, and within hours, he was pulled from the set. Mel Brooks didn't panic. Instead, he did what any director would do. He called Gene Wilder, his trusted friend, and asked if he could step in. There was no audition, no script review. Wilder simply said, yes, and by the next day, he was on set. The film's chaotic energy was a perfect fit for Wilder's dry humor and understated performance, which ended up becoming the film's secret weapon. His portrayal of the Waco Kid, a former gunslinger hiding in a jail cell, brought the perfect balance of tragic dignity and sharp wit. Wilder didn't just play the role, he became it, transforming a moment of crisis into cinematic gold. Number 2. Before Blazing Saddles could make its mark, Mel Brooks sought the help of one of the most revolutionary comedic voices of his time, Richard Pryor. While Pryor never appeared on screen in the film, his contribution was crucial. He helped co-write the script, infusing it with a dangerous, raw energy that would have otherwise been missing. The film's biting racial satire and unapologetic humor wouldn't have been as bold or as sharp without Pryor's influence. His personal style of comedy, which made audiences uncomfortable yet kept them laughing, served as the film's backbone. However, the studio didn't see Pryor's genius. They saw his history of controversial behavior. Pryor had made headlines for his personal life, and in the conservative climate of 1970s Hollywood, this was enough to scare the studio executives into pulling him out of the project. As a result, Cleavon Little was cast as the lead, but even though he delivered a standout performance, Pryor's voice still echoed throughout the film. From the script to the tone, the movie ran on Pryor's wit, offering a level of discomfort and dark humor that few films at the time dared to explore. Number 3. Imagine being the studio executive sitting through a first screening of Blazing Saddles. The racial slurs, fart jokes, and relentless political satire must have felt like a punch to the gut. Instead of laughter, the room was filled with tense silence. These were the people who trusted Mel Brooks to make them money. But what they saw on that screen was far from what they expected. The film was a chaotic mix of absurdity and subversive social commentary that had no place in mainstream cinema at the time. It was so out of step with what the studio wanted that the execs decided it should be quietly shelved and forgotten. They planned to lock it away, pretending it never happened. But Mel Brooks wasn't ready to give up. Instead of accepting defeat, he fought for a test screening in front of a real audience. The first 20 minutes were dead silent, leaving everyone wondering if they'd made a huge mistake. But then, the unthinkable happened. A single fart joke, a simple scene of cowboys around a campfire, shattered the tension in the room. The audience erupted in laughter. That one moment was the key to unlocking the entire film. After that, the laughter didn't stop, and the studio executives quickly realized they had something special. What had seemed like a disaster was now a comedy that no one could ignore. Number 4. The moment that changed the fate of Blazing Saddles was simple, yet revolutionary. A group of cowboys sitting around a campfire, eating beans. One cowboy lets out a loud, wet fart. Then another, and another. The farting escalates, and the audience's laughter builds, spreading like wildfire. This seemingly juvenile moment was the catalyst that turned the entire film around. It wasn't just a fart joke, it was the first mainstream film to bring this kind of humor into the spotlight. It set the tone for the rest of the movie. Absurd, outrageous, and unapologetically fun. Up until that point, the audience had been tense, unsure of how to react to the politically incorrect satire they had just witnessed. But that fart scene gave them permission to laugh. It was the moment that let them release the tension they had been holding onto and for the first time truly enjoy what they were watching. What made the scene so powerful wasn't just the unexpectedness of the humor, but the way it flipped the script on what was considered appropriate comedy in the 1970s. It marked the moment when Blazing Saddles went from being a controversial misfire to a classic that would live on for decades. Number 5. When Mel Brooks reached out to Gene Wilder to replace Gig Young, he wasn't just asking for a quick favor, he was saving the film. But Wilder wasn't about to deliver a typical slapstick performance. He made a firm request. If I do this, I'm playing it straight. Brooks, knowing Wilder's comedic genius, agreed without hesitation. This choice to play the Waco Kid with dignity instead of leaning into overt humor became one of Blazing Saddles' greatest strengths. Wilder's portrayal of the Waco Kid was a masterclass in subtlety. In a film where chaos reigned, fart jokes, racial satire, and wild gunfights, Wilder's deadpan performance was like an anchor in a storm. He played the character as a tragic, almost Shakespearean figure, a washed-up gunslinger with a broken past. His Waco Kid wasn't just a comedic sidekick. He was a man drowning in his own sadness and regrets. Wilder's quiet delivery of lines like, "What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?" was pure gold, bringing an understated weight to the film. What made Wilder's performance so brilliant was its contrast with the madness around him. While the other characters leaned into the absurdity of their roles, Wilder stood tall, delivering his lines with calm, drunken dignity. This made every joke sharper, every punchline funnier. His ability to stay completely straight-faced amidst the insanity elevated the humor to a level that many other comedic actors could never have achieved. Wilder didn't just play the Waco Kid. He brought depth and nuance to a role that could have easily been forgotten as just another sidekick. Number 6. When Blazing Saddles was first screened for the studio, it faced an immediate backlash. Not because the humor didn't land, but because it pushed boundaries in ways that were seen as downright dangerous. From racial slurs to religious jabs, Blazing Saddles seemed to violate every rule of what was deemed acceptable in mainstream cinema. Mel Brooks, however, was relentless. He refused to let the studio censor his work, arguing that the very heart of the film's comedy lay in its biting satire. Brooks famously fought to keep the controversial content in the film, even when the studio executives threatened to pull the plug. One of the most famous battles was over the "up yours" line at the start of the film, which was seen as too vulgar and controversial for a mainstream audience. But Brooks stood firm, arguing that removing the edge would remove the entire point of the film. He knew that the film's humor wasn't just for laughs, it was designed to challenge societal norms and confront racism head-on. The studio executives weren't the only ones worried about the film's content. The censors had a field day with the script, flagging nearly every page for one reason or another. Brooks, however, understood that Blazing Saddles wasn't just a comedy, it was a tool for social change. His refusal to back down, despite immense pressure, ultimately shaped the film into something that could not just entertain but provoke and challenge the audience in a way that had never been done before. Number 7. When Cleavon Little took on the role of Sheriff Bart in Blazing Saddles, he wasn't just starring in a film, he was breaking barriers. As one of the first black leads in a major Hollywood comedy, Little faced more than just the typical pressures of acting. Off-screen, he received hate mail and threats, with some people not realizing the film's satirical nature. They saw the black sheriff and mistook the satire for reality. The fact that Little was forced to endure this while still delivering an incredible performance is a testament to his resilience and grace. Though the film was meant to mock racism, Little was directly confronted with it. He was targeted by some viewers who couldn't separate the character from the actor. Despite this, he never let the hate seep into his on-screen performance. His portrayal of Sheriff Bart was calm, collected, and most importantly, defiant. He exuded a quiet strength, handling each absurd situation with a cool confidence that made the character unforgettable. The role required more than just comedic timing. It demanded emotional intelligence and an understanding of the weight that came with playing a character in such a racially charged film. Little's performance was flawless, and he matched Gene Wilder's dry wit beat for beat. His ability to deliver his lines with both humor and dignity made the character a hero, not just in the context of the film, but for the audience watching it. He embodied the spirit of Blazing Saddles, finding humor in the face of adversity while challenging the very systems that sought to hold him down. Number 8. Blazing Saddles didn't just break the rules, it obliterated them, creating a lasting impact on both Hollywood and pop culture. The film's unflinching commentary on racism, authority, and societal hypocrisy was as timely in the 1970s as it is today. Yet, despite its cultural significance and widespread acclaim, Blazing Saddles remains one of the most controversial films ever made. It dared to touch topics that many other films would shy away from, and in doing so, it opened the door for a new wave of edgier, more daring comedies. The film's legacy is not without its complications. The sharp racial satire that made the film groundbreaking is now the subject of much debate. Is it still funny in a modern context? Can it still be appreciated? Or has it become a relic of a time when these issues were dealt with differently? Many critics argue that the film's subversive approach to racism and authority remains as relevant as ever, while others feel that its humor, once groundbreaking, now feels uncomfortable and out of place in today's more politically correct climate. Despite the ongoing debate over its content, Blazing Saddles remains a touchstone in American comedy. It has influenced countless filmmakers and comedians, from Eddie Murphy to Quentin Tarantino, who have all cited it as a major inspiration. The film may have faced censorship and controversy, but its willingness to confront uncomfortable truths head-on while still delivering laughs made it a one-of-a-kind masterpiece in film history. Its legacy is a testament to the power of comedy to break boundaries and challenge societal norms, one fart joke at a time. Blazing Saddles isn't just a film, it's a cultural moment that defied expectations and changed the landscape of comedy forever. From its bold racial satire to its unforgettable performances, it continues to be a touchstone for films that dare to tackle tough topics with humor and honesty. While its controversial nature has sparked debate for decades, there's no denying the impact it had in shaping not only comedy, but the way films address social issues. If you haven't seen it yet, buckle up. It's a wild ride you won't forget. Let us know your favorite Blazing Saddles moment in the comments below.